Welcome to the Evolve Podcast. Evolve Podcast is an open forum on personal growth and cultivating a positive mindset. I'm your host, Joe Fitzpatrick. Today on the show, we have my sister-in-law, Shea Fitzpatrick, all the way from Las Vegas. How are you doing, Shea?
Excellent. Happy to be here with you, Joe.
I see we have a special appearance from Fisher as well.
That's right.
Hey, Fish. Haven't seen you in a while.
He's got a lot to say on positive mindset.
I bet. Shea is a fitness coach. She currently works at CrossFit gym, I believe. Is that correct?
I am taking a break from coaching right now, but yes. Yeah, I was working for CrossFit gym most recently.
Yeah. And I know you have many years of experience as a coach as well as a teacher. I know you used to teach at a Montessori school, and you were a swim coach, and you worked at other gyms as a fitness and strength coach. So I think it's safe to say that teaching and coaching is really at the core of what you're passionate about. And I know you also just recently had your first daughter, Cassie James, my lovely little niece. And that's taken up a lot of your time now. So I'm sure that is a big reason for why you're taking a break from coaching, right?
Yeah. Our schedules aren't super conducive to having like a set coaching schedule. So,
right.
Yeah. I'll definitely get back at it though.
What's the name of your home gym where you're at?
CrossFit Raw Appeal is where we're at right now.
Okay. Raw Appeal. Were you at another gym before that called Social City?
I was, yes.
Okay. You're not affiliated with them anymore?
No, both gyms are great. Social City is just a little bit further from where we are. And with such a tiny baby, it is imperative to have like ease and convenience. And so Raw Appeal is only a mile from our house. They're also a bigger space, so they have more space for like the little kids, and both gyms are fairly family friendly, I would say, but Raw Appeal definitely goes kind of the extra mile with like a kids area that you can see your kids playing, and there's a lot of moms at the 9:30 class that I go to, so we all kind of take turns helping out the kiddos when they need a little help. So it's been really nice. Yeah, Social City was great. Definitely miss a lot of our friends over there, but we're finding a new home for now.
Yeah. Embracing that new life as active parents in a community that's better served to active parents as well. You know, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I know you're also an avid rock climber. Obviously, you're not doing that as much, currently because of this new change to your lifestyle. And I know that is something you and Zach have been doing for many years. I'm sure there's no plans of stopping. It's just taking a pause for now.
Yeah. We found a few moments in time where we're like, okay, we can go do this, or we've got the climbing wall in our garage, Zach's happy place. And so we still get after it time to time, but it's now that she's crawling around, it's really all hands on deck. So it's hard because for whatever reason, children apparently just love inanimate objects, non-edible objects. So you gotta be careful when you leave her.
Crawling up walls in no time.
Yeah, exactly. She'll be right next to us.
You and Zach, you guys met in college. My brother Zach, who was on season 1 of the podcast last year. What year did you guys meet?
Joe, you're asking the hard questions already.
We're diving in.
I think we met in like 2012 and started dating closer to like 2014.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah.
And you guys met through the outdoor adventure program
at
Old Dominion.
I first met him at a mutual friend's house, Jamie Silver. You know her, Joe.
Yeah.
And then, I ran into him after that at ODU, and he kind of introduced me to the outdoor adventure program, and the fate had it. And we went from climbing buddies to partners for life.
Yeah. And then you guys, fast forwarding a bit, you got married October of, was it 2019 or 28? No, it had to be in 2018. Yeah. Then you guys were living in Virginia Beach for a while.
Yeah.
And then I think was it 2 or 3 years ago that you moved out to Las Vegas?
So we got to Las Vegas in January 2021. So
okay. Yeah.
Coming up on our 3rd year.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. So now we're oriented right now with, where you're at, where we came from. But now I want to focus more on you and getting to know you and your journey in a bit more detail. So let's go back to your childhood. I know like your biological mom wasn't really in the picture, and you were raised by the person you call your mom, Tana, right?
No, so I was raised by my biological mom, but my sister is not. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Tana is my biological mom.
Oh, she is. Okay.
Yes.
Gotcha.
So, my mom did take over for my sister. So my mom's sister was unable to care for her. And so my mom stepped in when she was about 6 months old.
Okay.
And has raised her ever since.
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah. And your sister, Lexi, she's a photographer. She's an amazing person. I would love to have her on the podcast eventually, but we'll get there. So,
she's shy, but I think you could convince her.
Yeah. If I can even get her down and locate her.
She's a top
photographer. She lives in Texas and she's all over the world for various photo shoots, but I digress. Sorry about that.
No, you're totally good.
Cool. At what point in your childhood did Lexi come into your life more?
So I was almost 4 at that point. Yeah.
Okay. Do you remember anything that was happening at that time?
Yeah. It was definitely like a standout moment in my life. Like I have like vivid memories of like asking for a little sister at that point. And then we got Lexi. My dad flew to Texas, picked her up, and then came home with her. And after like 2 days of her nonstop screaming, I was like, can we please take this baby back? Luckily, my parents were resilient and they did not. She's one of the best things that ever happened to me. But my parents also weren't in a good place at that point. And so adding like another thing to the mix was pretty tough. So it was like a very like monumental moment in life and kind of helped me maybe grow up a little too fast at that point.
Yeah. But, so you weren't too fond of her from the start, but you guys eventually grew closer. Yeah. When did you start developing a better relationship with her?
Like one-on-one, Lexi and I could get along, but like if parents were in the mix, I think there was a lot of like fighting for attention. And so that caused a lot of bad blood. We're also what I thought was very different. We're actually very similar people. So that was a part of us butting heads. But I would say when I went off to college, I realized like just how much I loved her because I missed her so much. Like I missed being able to like go into her bedroom and like have conversations. So yeah, definitely like the moment I left, I missed what I had, and we've built like a great relationship from then. But
yeah, I definitely understand that sibling rivalry, being one of 5 kids and being the oldest and seeking that attention and that validation. But it is interesting, right? Like as we get older, and being able to develop those relationships more like at a deeper emotional level and, hopefully being able to be closer with our siblings. Thankfully I've had that experience as well. And I really appreciate each of my siblings in, different and unique ways. Zach, especially, since he's my only brother,
Right.
We have a very special bond in that regard. And I'm sure it's the same for you and your sister, not just because, there's just the two of you, but also, she is your only sister as well.
Yeah. It definitely creates a different kind of relationship when it is like brother, brother, sister, sister, I think. Because there's a little bit more competition when you have so much in common. And then there's also just like great learning experiences, especially as you get older. You can kind of be more open to that like learning opportunity of just like watching her grow into the woman she is helped me grow as a woman myself. So
when did you start getting involved in athletics?
I was fairly like interested in sports my whole life. As a kid, I played pretty much anything that my parents put me in, like most of us. Like you do whatever they kind of steer you towards. But then when I started to have an opinion, it definitely fell towards like the gymnastics side of things, and then ultimately became a swimmer. Leaving swimming, once I got into college, kind of floundered for a little bit, I would say, as far as like staying healthy, finding athletic things to do. I wasn't like seeking out those things as much. And so it wasn't until I actually met your brother that kind of like pulled me back to where I belong, which was now outdoor athletics, like climbing and hiking and biking, and then eventually weightlifting. So college is kind of where I got my restart or rebirth.
So when you started doing swimming, were you swimming outdoors?
No, I was mostly just a lap pool swimmer. I did lifeguard, so I swam outside occasionally, but yeah, no, I was mostly just on that hamster wheel back and forth.
Did you ever get into triathlons, or did you just focus on swimming?
I focused mostly on swimming. In college, I did do a sprint triathlon with a few friends from like my major, and that was a lot of fun. I'd love to do some more, but I have not pushed myself to accept that challenge yet, but I should.
Hey, if you want to, they're fun.
Yeah.
I did a half sprint in April, and I want to do a full sprint next. So
yeah,
maybe we'll do it together. Who knows?
Let's do it. Let's put something on the books. I'm always up for like a training buddy or like something that you can do with friends and family. So
yeah, I know last year Tom and Zach did Xterra triathlon, and I heard that went well, right?
It was really cool. We were in Colorado, which I loved being out there in the heat of summer here in Vegas. It was a nice break. And then they've got one on the books for September in Lake Tahoe.
Awesome.
Which I considered doing. I did, Joe, but when they told me about the mountain biking course at Tahoe being more technical, I was like, not there yet.
I hear you. I'm definitely interested in doing some off-road triathlons as well, but definitely not there yet.
Not there yet. Yeah, me neither.
Cool. You got into strength training in college. What were you studying in college?
So I started out with exercise science, but quickly found that I had more of a passion for like the coaching side of things, educational side of things versus becoming like the physical therapist, which I wish somebody would have explained like a degree is just a degree and everything's transferable skills.
Yeah.
But they didn't. So I digress. I actually studied outdoor recreation and therapeutic recreation. And so it was a lot of like facilitation of large groups, small group stuff. We did a lot with like the kids in Norfolk public schools, like after school programs. It was a lot of fun and my professors were super hands-on. So that was a lot different than like exercise science.
I know that you also have served as a guide on like kayaking trips, right?
Yeah. So that was more aligned with like my major.
Yeah. And I think, was that like one of your first jobs when you guys moved out to Las Vegas?
Yeah, that was my very first job.
And you did that for about a year?
Yeah. And I would have loved to continue, but I got pregnant and there was no way I was loading and unloading and kayaking for 12 hours out of the day.
Yeah, that would have definitely taken a big toll on you. That's for sure.
Yeah.
But I mean, that degree sounds really interesting. I think you could definitely do something with like that field, you know, if that's something you want to pursue later on.
Yeah, it's definitely something I've always played around with. And maybe just not knowing where I needed to start, but getting into like the public school system here. I would love to get like an outdoor education class or even like summer program. I think would be really beneficial for the kids of Las Vegas. So
yeah, I could possibly connect you with another guest from the podcast who I had on earlier this season. His name is Tim Towsley. He works with a bunch of different school systems on teaching kids about the outdoors, about bike mechanics, how to recreate responsibly. And it seems like, you know, maybe you guys could work together. Really
I would love to talk to him.
That'd be sweet. I'll definitely send you his information.
Thank you, Jim.
Yeah. So you're interested in coaching. Did you have like a memorable experience, like working with one coach or different coaches from your youth that helped like draw you towards that?
Yeah. I mean, I lucked out for the most part throughout my childhood and had some great coaches. Honestly, it was probably my first weightlifting coach though, who made the biggest impact. His name is Lee Throckmorton. He owned Red Flag Athletics, which was a CrossFit gym in Virginia Beach.
Mm-hmm.
They no longer run it as that. Now it's Kaizen and it's owned by his wife, Emily. But great coach, great role model. It really like embraced the life that he was pushing you towards. So it was very believable and you just wanted to be a little bit better every day, which I mean, wow, like what a great impact as a coach, right? And then from there, yeah, just more coaching in like the strength department. Chris Olam was another great mentor of mine / coach. I mean, every day he just wanted to impact lives and that always like resonated with me. So those would be the biggest influences.
So were you in college when you got your first strength coach or was that after college?
I had just graduated from Old Dominion when I started going to Red Flag.
Okay. Right.
Yeah.
What was your experience like getting into strength training while you were still in school?
Honestly, at that point, I don't think this movement had quite started for like empowering women to like be strong. It was still very much like, let's work out to be thin or let's work out to like be able to eat more calories, you know? And so it was a very weird battle because, you know, on one side I had my college girl brain that was like, I just want to look like all the other girls. And then on the other side, you're like, no, I just want to be strong. Like, I just want to feel good. I want to be able to do these really cool things I'm watching a lot of the other climbers do. And so that definitely empowered me to like move towards strength training because to be able to pull myself up the wall or hike all of my gear in to go climbing, like I needed to be stronger. So ultimately that side won.
What did you focus on in the gym to help yourself become a stronger climber?
Just overall body strength. Honestly, it was just moving better. Like no one had ever like physically taught me how to squat properly or deadlifting things over, you know, whatever the standard person like picks up off of the floor. And then obviously like pull-ups. Oh, I hear a baby and a dad. Hi guys. So I would just say it was mostly overall body strength, and then like figuring out where am I in space. So some of that like proprioception work.
Mm-hmm.
Cassie, you want to come say hi? Okay, come on, Daddy. Co-host.
Hey,
Yeah.
baby.
Cassie, do you have any advice for anyone listening out there? He said, eat more, drink more water, sleep a lot.
Yep. Hydrate, get your nutrition, and get your sleep.
That's right. The fundamentals. Huh.
I love that you have like the dog on one side and Grassy on the other side.
We also just got chickens, so maybe I should just bring those into the.
Yeah, right.
All right, you. We love you. All right, you're cute. You can't steal the show. Go get Daddy.
So tell me about the gym that you joined after college, Red Flag Athletics. What attracted you to that gym?
Honestly, we were lifeguarding at that point down at the oceanfront, and Lee was also someone who worked at the beach. And so he opened up a gym right down the street from where we met in the morning for morning muster. And it was perfect timing. The class ended right before we needed to be at our lifeguard shop. And then I realized what an amazing coach I had in front of me, and that kept me there for sure. It was like the camaraderie of like all the lifeguards getting together and working out. So that was fun. Like we could be competitive with each other. We had great coaching. The programming was what I would say like what we needed personally. It wasn't super like heavy weightlifting. It was more of like, can you move efficiently? And a lot of like body weight stuff as well. So
when you guys started lifeguarding, was Zach already doing that? And then you joined later?
Yeah, he had been working at the oceanfront since he was, I think, 16 or 18.
Yeah, when he was in high school.
Right? Yeah, so high school is when he started for the oceanfront, and then kind of took a couple of years off doing other things, and then he came back to it, and then I joined as soon as I was done with college.
Okay, cool. And how did you like being a lifeguard at the beach?
It's one of the best jobs I've ever had, Joe.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, I reminisce. I mean, it was great. You're working out for an hour here, an hour there. You're sitting on the beach looking at this beautiful ocean. And then, of course, the people watching is always fun.
Yeah, especially during the summertime, right?
Absolutely.
What was the culture like there at the lifeguards around like women with strength and cultivating that strength?
That's a great question. I would definitely say that I was empowered often to like be strong and to like be able to do the things that like were expected of me, right? Like it wasn't, well, we expect this because you're a male or because you're a female, but like this is the job. You need to be able to do it. You don't know who you're getting in the water to save, but oftentimes they're bigger than someone who's 5'1" and 135 pounds. So like being strong was great. And then, my swimming background, that was just a plus. Quite a few women down there who were still like pushing the culture of weightlifting as well. Like they bring dumbbells down for some of the morning drills, and it's encouraged. So
when did your mindset on strength and like, having, a woman's body and like existing in the culture that we live in, when did that mindset start to change?
I mean, let's face it, like I was always kind of built more like my dad, and I was often told that like growing up. Like I can recall countless times of hearing like, oh my gosh, you are built just like Eugene, or wow, you and your dad could be twins. And you're like, what? 16-year-old girl wants to hear that.
I don't see it.
And so it was kind of always a battle for me personally, because like I wanted to have like that smaller frame, or maybe not be so broad shouldered, and often looked in the mirror and thought like, okay, well, if I just run more, like that will help me. That I'd honestly say my mindset started to change the more I got into like CrossFit, because I was seeing other women who looked more like me, or like I was starting to realize like what I was capable of because I had this stronger build, and how certain things came a little bit more naturally for me. And it started to become kind of this blessing, if you will, that like I was gifted some great genetics for being strong. But I'd honestly say I have never been more confident after having a baby. Like the moment I found out I was having a girl was like kind of like the moment I was like, you will talk about yourself more positively. You will have more intention behind the words that you use, because I don't want her to go through the things that like most young girls go through, myself included. No matter what she looks like, whether, you know, she's small, tall, who knows, but I want her to just be confident in the things that she can do, not the way that she looks. So that was kind of like the big catalyst for me.
You and Zach are already gonna be incredible role models, like based on what you do and who you are. But it's great that you're putting that positive intention into it, and trying to be the best versions of yourselves now, so you can, you know, prepare for, you know, when she is more aware and engaged, so that you know, you are the best version of yourself, and you know, help her become the best version of herself too. You know,
that's what it's all about.
It's really powerful and so important, especially in the current culture that we live in. Hopefully change it, one person at a time. What was your first job out of college? Was that I mean, were you teaching at the Montessori school? Was that your first job?
Yeah, so I lifeguarded, and then I jumped into teaching at the Montessori school.
Why did you decide to start teaching at the Montessori school?
Honestly, well, I had experience. I worked at a child development center in college.
Okay.
Where I was working with like 2 to 4 year olds. So same age group is what I found this online. I think it was Indeed.com. They were hiring. I didn't have a plan. I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do or who I wanted to be. I just knew I didn't want to live at home. So I needed to make money. And I applied for a teaching assistant job. And then after my interview, they offered me a teaching job.
Oh, wow.
So I couldn't turn that down. I love working with kids, and I knew I didn't want to work behind a desk, and this was a good jump start.
Yeah. And then you got into swim coaching. Was that during your Montessori tenure there?
Yes, it was. It was just like a winter kind of fill-in position. They had lost their coaching staff at Bishop Sullivan Catholic High School in Virginia Beach. And they needed a female coach. And I was excited about working with more youth at that point. I missed the world of swimming. I think I had been missing it. And then also just, again, like getting to like affect lives was always like such an absolute for me. So it's like, yes, I'll jump at that opportunity. Why not? I don't like to say no to what could be very interesting, or I don't know, next step in the direction.
How did you get asked to fill that role?
Another lifeguard was going to be taking on the male coaching role, Mike Miller.
Okay. Yeah.
And so he was like, hey, I think I've got a good fit for this job. Like, do you mind if I contact her? And yeah, so he called me up and asked me if it was something I'd be interested in.
Cool. And when did you leave the Montessori school and swim teaching?
So I only coached for that season. I believe they found somebody more permanent, and it just was a better fit for them. I couldn't commit. I didn't know where I was going to be yet. I knew I was only going to teach for a year. Sadly, the world of teaching, I don't think it's talked about enough, but it is very difficult. You're spending a lot of extra hours that aren't on paper, getting lessons ready, meeting with parents, and that it just became a lot, which I didn't expect for such a young demographic of children. I also thought.
Totally. I mean, I know teacher burnout is very real. That's why our country is losing educators left and right. And, my sister, Kendall, also got burnout on teaching and decided to quit that job and pursue other types of work. Many people, I definitely identify with that.
Absolutely.
Where'd you go from there? Did you go into personal training after you quit teaching?
Yeah. So I did another year summer of lifeguarding. And at that point, I had been going to Red Flag for almost 2 years. And so Lee approached me about coaching potentially. And if it was something I was interested in, then he was going to help me get a certification that I would need through CrossFit, which is just their basic level 1. And I said, yeah, again, I don't like to say no to unique or different opportunities. And so I took the level 1. I really enjoyed learning. I think of myself as a lifelong learner. I think most of us should be that way, right?
Totally.
And, so here was this new set of skills I was ready to put into. But I would use the phrase I drank the Kool-Aid. Watching these coaches coach us and educate us on why and how and just the thought process behind coaching and programming, I was sold. I think I knew after that course, which is just a weekend, Friday through Sunday, excuse me. And yeah, I didn't think there's anything else out there for me outside of coaching.
Yeah. I mean, it definitely seems like your calling. You've been doing it for many years now at various gyms. And I know it's something you're really passionate about. Do you work primarily with kids or do you work with adults as well?
So when I started working at Red Flag, it was just adults. And then I guess about a year into coaching there, they let us know that they were going to have to close down. They couldn't afford really paying the rent there anymore. Owning and running a gym is not a money-making business. You put a lot of money into it just to keep the doors open. And so I found Waring's gym down at the ocean front in Virginia Beach. And I started coaching there. And that's when I got my first opportunity doing strength and conditioning for kids. And
that's what I thought.
Yeah, that became my bread and butter. I was still coaching adults and doing their HIIT classes, but the kids, yeah, I just ran with that. That was all me.
And you were at Waring's until you guys left for Las Vegas, right?
Correct.
Okay. And when you were coaching at Social City, were you working with adults?
Mostly. They, at the time that I had gotten there, their kids program kind of had fizzled out. I think that they're trying to bring it back now, but I'm not sure. So yeah, it was once again, mostly adults, which is fine. I love adults, don't get me wrong, but definitely a harder group of people to coach. Kids are so open to suggestion. and correction, whereas
Sure.
adults are a little bit more opinionated.
Yeah, I'm sure. Does Raw Appeal have a kids program?
They do. They actually have like a little kids program, which is like older elementary school kids through middle school. And then they also have high school program. I know that they've done some team trainings for like softball, maybe soccer.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's definitely opportunity there, which is another reason we kind of moved along.
Yeah, makes sense for where you're at in your life. And, it seems like you definitely tend to gravitate towards working with kids and, again, having that positive impact on impressionable youth and helping them grow and mature into better adults. That's great.
Thank you.
So let's talk about Cassie and like your pregnancy. So I know you guys had a home birth and Zach helped to deliver the baby, which was crazy based on the little information that I know about it, but I'd love to hear more about it from your perspective.
Yeah.
Starting with your pregnancy. How did your pregnancy go? I know also, well, let's just start there. I don't want to put too much on you. Tell me about your pregnancy and how was it?
Man, it was the most humbling experience of my life.
Yeah.
Is the hardest thing I've ever done. And that is just the pregnancy. Not even the delivery. I would probably do that part over in a heartbeat. But being pregnant was tough. At that point, when I'd gotten pregnant, is probably the best shape I've ever been in, which I knew that going into it. It was kind of my hope was to be at like what I considered one of my many peaks. To kind of help have a healthy pregnancy. Right. But it still didn't, I guess, set me up to really, I don't know, have an easy ride. It was still difficult. But yeah, it gave me a whole new appreciation. The first trimester, I was so sick. Nothing but like crackers and bread items, which at that point I hadn't really been eating a ton of because I was really focused and driven to like peak performance. Mm-hmm. And so that was hard mentally to just let myself eat the things I could actually keep down. We had planned a trip to Mexico to climb with our best friend, Tom, who we met in college. Mm-hmm. And the whole time I was just sick. We were like hiking to these climbs and I'm just puking off to the side. A few times I was like, guys, you're just going to go on without me. I'm going to go back to camp, or stayed at camp and didn't even attempt to go. So that was hard.
What altitude were you at?
Not that high. No, I wish I could blame that. I think it was like probably what we live at, which is almost 3,000. Okay. At peak, maybe like 5 or 6, but still, I wish I could blame the altitude. I think for whatever reason, my hormones they made me very susceptible to feeling nauseous.
Oh.
Hey, I got through that.
Yeah.
And then with the second and the third trimester, again, it was like I was living in this body that didn't belong to me anymore. And that was really tough. The second trimester, we went out and attempted to climb some easy stuff. I was doing mostly top rope, but like did a move and it didn't feel right. And I was so mad at myself for like putting myself at risk and maybe pushing my limits a little bit too much. And so that's when I stopped climbing. And that was really hard because, we moved to Vegas to climb and hike. And now here I was like unable to do those things, watching Zach and like my friends still getting to like live their lives very normal. So that was challenging, feeling like I'd lost myself. And then I realized that I couldn't like self-identify with the things that I do, that I'm still me. and those things are just on pause. They're not gone forever. And so again, there's that mindset, right? Like start reading books like The Comfort Crisis and trying to like make myself more resilient and work on like my mental toughness. That was pregnancy.
How did your like identity change in that time period?
Once I like stripped away, like you are not CrossFit. That is not who you are. You are not climber. Like that's something you enjoy doing.
Right.
Let's focus on like what we are becoming. And that is like a mother, a provider. Like you are going to be this little person's safe space. And that's what you are right now. And we got to do the things that we can to keep her safe. And so your exercise can change. That's okay, because we're still exercising. So my identity turned more towards like, this is motherhood. You're going to have to give up things often for the sake of someone else. And this is just the first piece. And that's okay. Let's identify as like, you are Shea still. You get to be happy and bubbly. No one can take that away from you. These are just activities. So, yeah.
Awesome. And, you know, I think that's a great point. You know, we are not the things that we enjoy doing. They can give us a sense of fulfillment and a sense of purpose, but they don't define who we are. And, you know, like you said, it's a humbling experience to have to surrender part of yourself to another person. I guess with my dog Daphne, like it's not the same thing, but there's similarities. You know, you have to sacrifice some of your wants for the caring of another, whether that's a animal or a person.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and you guys have dogs too, so you know how that goes as well.
Yes.
So you guys opted to do a home birth. I know Zach had experience delivering other people's babies as a firefighter EMT, so he was already ready to go. But I'm sure there was a certain degree of nerves delivering your baby. Can you talk about that experience?
For my journey, I kind of knew from the get-go that I wanted to do a natural birth if I was like if it was at all possible. Like I needed to know more information. Like, am I healthy enough? Like, do I have what we deem normal, like pregnancy, like all these things. And so, but my goal was a natural birth. And the more reading I started to do on just like statistics in the hospital, reading up on the hospitals just in our area, I started to realize like maybe at home is what I want. And then the first time we went to the hospital or to the doctor to see if like my scans were normal, this was at like week 10 into the pregnancy, is the first time they saw me. And I sat in the waiting room for, I think, an hour and a half past my appointment time. So already I was like, well, this is nerve wracking. I don't like hospitals. They creep me out. I've got like, whatever, you know, bad experience or just weird things. I don't like them. They make me very uncomfortable. And the nurse finally comes back to get me. And she's like, just get undressed, put your gown on the way that you would for annual, and the doctor will be right with you. And like all these words are flying at me. And I'm like, I don't know what you mean. What do you need me to do? And she was gone before I could ask anything. And then the doctor I thought I was seeing had sent in, I guess, her nurse practitioner. And she didn't even introduce herself before starting like the exam. And I was like, wow, usually, you know, I like shake your hand before you get this personal. And so I was just starting to like think like, they're so busy. They're so busy that like, they don't have time for me or my questions. And I don't know if this is going to be my route. So I started looking into the home birth even more seriously. And Zach was saying, like, I've been to some home births gone wrong. This isn't what I want for us. And I was like, well, of course you've gone to the ones that are gone wrong. They need emergency help, but you haven't been to any that have gone right, because that doesn't make sense. Why would they call you if they didn't need you? So your skew, or your idea of home birth, is skewed. So we start looking into it. I start calling around, and I finally found Cassie Franco, who delivered our baby Cassie. I did not name her after Cassie, but it is also kind of cute.
Yeah.
But so going into like leading up to the birth of Cassie, every time that we got to meet, every time like we talked on the phone, my midwife was so educational and just explaining to me like the process of what's going to happen inside my own body. So as a coach, I'm like, okay, cool. This makes sense. So these muscle spindles, like I'm nerding out over what's happening with every contraction. And so leading into the home birth, like I had all of that in my head, and it just made it way more comfortable and way more easy to, steal your word, Joe, surrender to like the process. It was like, birth pain is natural pain, which is, it's good. Like this is healthy pain. This isn't, I'm sick. This isn't, something's wrong. This is a very natural process that my very healthy body can handle. And then, the contractions get stronger, and that all goes out the window, and you're just like, I'm just an animal making noises and trying to get through this as best I can, which, having an amazing, strong partner and my mom here with me, it got me through it. There was definitely a moment where I was like, what have I done? I don't think I can do this. And I remember like putting my hands on Zach's shoulders and just like leaning on him, exhausted, and him just like telling me over and over, like, you can do this. You are strong. You are capable. And like just swaying back and forth with me. And like that really got me through the last few hours. So it was a miracle. I'm so happy that I was like awake and felt all of it, as hard as it was. I wouldn't take back that experience. And if I did do it all again, I wouldn't change any of it, as long as I have another healthy pregnancy. Right. So,
do you know how long your labor was?
I started getting contractions in the morning, like right after my appointment with my doctor. So like 8 a.m., I was having contractions, and they slowly just got bigger and closer. And it was like 8 p.m. when I started to like think, okay, maybe we should call the midwife.
Mm-hmm.
I called her at 7. She got there at 8. And by midnight, I was delivering the baby. So like 8 to midnight was the hard work. It's not bad.
Yeah. Really a full day experience.
Yes. It was an all day event.
Yeah. Well, I'm so glad that Cassie is happy and healthy, and the delivery and pregnancy, all of it went successfully. It's a blessing for real. And
absolutely,
she's a beautiful girl. I had the pleasure of meeting her last month. Hopefully I get some more FaceTime with her sooner than later.
Absolutely.
Yeah. You said earlier that like getting pregnant and becoming a mom was the best thing that ever happened to you. Yeah. What would you say is, your why for what you do now as a mom, as a coach, as whatever you decide to do next, in this new chapter of life? What's your biggest why?
I think to see change, you have to be the change, right? Like, I think in the world that we live in right now, with or without my daughter involved, like, I want the world to be a better place. I want people to live better lives, healthier lives, to be their healthiest self. And if I'm going to preach that, if I'm going to push for that, if I'm going to coach people in that environment, then I have to be about that. Like I have to 100% commit to the words that I'm choosing to use. And I just don't believe in selling a product if I'm not willing to use the product myself. So in the industry that I'm in my own life, that's all I want for myself. And that's all I want for others is healthy, happy, functional life. So that's my why.
I remember a while back, you started a blog and you were like doing some writing about your experiences. Is that something you're still doing? Are you still writing and sharing it or not sharing it with a wider audience? What happened with that?
So I do still write. I've always loved writing in general, whether it's just like a couple of sentences here or there or full-on stories. I've not really been sharing much on the blog. Occasionally I'll make like a post about something on Instagram. I think I'm somebody who does a lot better in person, which is why I think I love coaching so much, because I get to share that like more intimate side of myself, my story with others in person. I struggle with maybe being so open and vulnerable with the online presence. Even though I've never gotten any kind of like hate or words of discouragement ever online, which is lovely. Please, people, keep loving the things I put out there. I'm sensitive, but it's hard for me to keep up with stuff like that. We in college called it the 80-20 rule of like 80% of your attention goes to the people you're right in front of, 20% goes to the people that you're not. I'm definitely a little bit more like 95-5 on accident, which I could be a lot better about, even for just like my friends back home, for family. Sometimes I get caught up in my day-to-day. So I would like to share more of my story with people, but it's hard. It's hard to stay consistent in that aspect of my life.
Yeah, I know what you mean. You know, it takes intention, like we were speaking about before. And, you know, this podcast is a great step, that's for sure.
Yeah.
You know, letting people into your world more as you're comfortable. And, you know, I really appreciate your time. So we're going to move towards wrapping up. Just have a few more questions for you. What does your nutrition look like? What is your go-to meal that helps you feel your best?
Ooh, that's a good one. You know, I guess I consider myself fairly regimented in my eating. It wasn't always that way. Gotten easier with like age and time. But my go-to meal is probably just like grilled chicken or salmon. I love rice made with coconut milk. That's a big one. I do a lot of bowls with like vegetables, rice or quinoa, couscous, and then some kind of protein. I keep it simple. I don't get super elaborate with meals, even though I do love to cook and I love trying new recipes and things like that. But I definitely prefer when eating myself, like just keep it simple, nothing crazy.
Has your diet changed at all since you became a mom?
Yes and no. I would say I was probably more strict before I was a mom. Now it's like when Zach's not here for his 48-hour shifts at the firehouse, it's kind of whatever I can get in quick. So if I don't have like leftovers or some meal prep done, canned tuna. That's like, that's fine. But I don't like, I used to stay away from like, I don't eat bread, but now every now and again, like I love buying a sourdough loaf at the like farmer's market. I don't know. Yeah, really anything. Okay, go to sleep.
Yeah, big fan of sourdough over here as well.
It's great, isn't it? Like it's like the new catchy thing, but it's delicious.
Oh yeah,
I'm all about it.
So do you and Zach split up your meal prep, or do you guys do it together, or like switch off on baby duty so you guys can do your cooking?
Every day is a different day with baby Cassie.
Yeah.
We love cooking together. It's definitely something that we've always loved to do in our relationship. But he definitely probably does more of the cooking these days than I do. Because I'm typically more on like getting her down to sleep and things like that. But when we can cook together, we definitely enjoy that.
What do you guys like to cook together?
Honestly, anything. I would say like baked breads. We do a lot of like homemade baked breads together. He's big on the bowls as well, or what he calls salads with grain in them. So I call them bowls. I think that's a better word. But it's just a salad.
Yeah, he said the same thing to me. I do the same. I'm a bowl fan, you know.
Yeah, they're just convenient. One-stop shop for a great steak.
And it's better than a plate because it has sides.
Yeah, you're not like spilling out.
Awesome. Let's talk about your mindset moment. What is a quote or phrase or mantra that helps you to stay positive in difficult circumstances?
For me, I guess just the thought, and like I say it often, is like embrace discomfort. I tell myself in the middle of like a really hard workout, like you get to do this. Not everybody gets to do this. Some people would do anything to do what you're doing right now. And even you 6 months ago would die to do what you're doing right now. So just keep going. Embrace discomfort.
Yeah. Another word for that is embrace the suck, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Embrace what you're able to do and don't worry about how much it sucks right now.
No, doing hard things is so important.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with that. Next is our PMA Warrior of the Week. Who is someone who helps you to maintain a positive mindset?
It's going to sound so corny, Joe.
Yeah.
But I'd have to say your brother, my husband, Zach Fitzpatrick. He's somebody that I've always looked to because I try not to idolize people because we're all just people, but there are definitely people who influence you positively. And he's always been somebody that like, I want to strive to be like. When things are hard, he's never complaining. I don't know that I've heard him raise his voice maybe but once in 10 years because he just keeps his cool. And that's somewhere that I struggle sometimes. Like I don't always keep it cool. I can be kind of a firecracker sometimes. And so he definitely helps me like take that deep breath, let go of what you can't control what you can, and that's your reaction. And like I watch him do it day in and day out with his job, with our friends, with me and our relationship. He is always just so grounded.
Couldn't agree more with that. I aspire to be like Zach sometimes too.
I think we need shirts. You would hate that.
Yeah, maybe like WWZF bracelets.
Yes.
Patrick do.
I like it.
We'll talk. Where can people connect with you if they want to follow along with you on your journey?
My Instagram account is Shea Butta, Butta Fitzpatrick. I'm not really anywhere else right now. I guess I'm on Facebook, but I don't play along with Facebook too much.
Thank you again, Shea. It was great talking to you.
This was a lot of fun, Joe.
Yeah, it was great. Give Zach a hug and Cassie a kiss for me.
Absolutely.
All right. Take care.
All right.
Thanks for watching Evolved Podcast. Follow at evolvedpodcast.co on Instagram for weekly updates. Subscribe to Evolved Podcast on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts, and like your favorite episodes. Production and editing by Shea Fitzpatrick. Our theme music, Endless Cruise, is written and performed by Fingers, spelled F1NG3RS.